Hello, everybody, and welcome to the new and current episode of the Byzantian brewscast. Welcome all. We are your hosts, Chaotic Jexag and Byzantian Dev, and we are coming at you
Oh,
live from
Los
whatever you call it.
Angeles.
Yeah, we're coming to you live from Byzantia Stadium with this week's homebrewing news and critical fumbles and all that good jazz.
100 jazz podcast of that warning.
just smooth jazz immediately.
It's all jazz now. Yeah, welcome back.
Hello, welcome everybody.
So
Oh,
So how's the week been?
I've been very tired this week. I think the past month or so of Christmas and all that, New Year, birthday stuff, has suddenly caught up to me, and my body just gone. My body has crashed like the UK economy under Liz Truss.
But it's been crashed for a while though.
Well, yeah,
It's
true.
like it's like waiting for like AA. I haven't turned up yet.
Yeah, this is true.
If I've been tired as well because I've been watching a lot of Twitch streams lately, and you know what American streamers like because they're like 6 p.m. is stupid in the morning.
Ah,
Oh god, I caught a Dog stream on Saturday
nice.
playing that new Get to Work game.
Uh-huh.
They're one of those deliberately hard 3D platformers that's meant to,
Yeah.
yeah. He just like didn't give up like at until like so he did a 13-hour stream.
Oh no.
He just got the cyclist wanting to beat it, and he had to like call it quits at like the last 10% odd.
Uh-huh.
So I caught the stream at about like 20 to 10. And it was still going by 9 the next day.
Oh
It, it,
no.
it was it was something. It was weird. Like normally his chat's like doing stupid jokes, like calling him bald, even though he's not bald. I don't know where that came from. But even the chat was like, "You need to sleep.
Yeah.
Just stop streaming. Go to sleep." It was insane.
Oh dear. That
So
is
that was
pretty.
interesting.
Yeah.
It was wild. So that was a thing.
I can imagine. Yeah. I saw I think Castlehead did a stream on it as well. It was like this is pain. I'm like, yes, delicious pain.
Oh, it is. It certainly is.
What a lovely day.
It was a weird way to spend the morning. Yeah, I've been busy with other stuff too, but that's I've been trying to catch up on sleep since.
Yeah, I've been trying to catch up on sleep and do a little bit of working stuff here and there, like a little bit of what I can be asked to do.
Yeah. Well, I've been keeping up on stuff. Uh, this group that didn't start a new D&D campaign uh, last night. That was nice. Nothing too crazy. I've been getting friendly with the 2024 rules. Proper mixed bag stuff. I'll get into that later.
Hmm.
It's,
It's good,
what
the
got
old
first?
gamering stuff. So, Tabletop Book Club, what do we have for this week? Since we are going through a
No,
lot of tabletop books lately because I
that's
haven't been
actually a
gaming, so segue.
perfect segue. Actually, yeah,
Hey.
the D&D Player Manual 2024. It's right. So in some cases, it's some of the same stuff,
Yeah.
but it's got some unique problems. I'd say.
Uh-huh.
So some spells are better, like a lot better. Like Healing Word, legitimately way better now. It's 2d4 rather than 1d4.
Hmm.
And it hasn't changed. It's still a cantrip. It's still the same range. So some spells are way better.
Oh,
A lot of the classes are generally better in combat now.
which is
You can
good.
play like a druid with martial weapon proficiency and medium armor now. So that's interesting.
Uh-huh.
The druid spell list for the Circle of the Land is now way better. That's cool.
Mhm.
And it's not dreadful for the most part, but there is just some things that I find really odd about it.
And it's like
Um,
it's 5.5 basically, isn't it? So it's kind of fifth edition, but kind of not,
yeah,
basically.
there's a lot of stuff that's a holdover stuff. Um, the races, I think that's going to be a big sticking point because there's how many races do we have in this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So 11. Well, now the species, 11 of those. And so anything outside, anything weirder than a tiefling or an Aasimar or a Goliath is pretty much now non-playable in the new book. So you're going to have to go back to the
Well,
old book still.
yeah. I suppose the thing is that I suppose 11 for the start of 5.5 isn't terrible. I guess. I suppose it's taken us ages to
Yeah.
get every other like racial thing from the Eldarin to the Simic hybrids to
Yes. No. No.
Viashinos and
I
Loxodons and all
get
them
that, but
gubbins.
but this does rather leave people that played like Fawns and Satyrs and Lizardmen. That they're kind of stuck with the old edition until they're going to shut this. Going to make people go out and buy another book with them in again, and it's going to be like
Yeah.
I was worried it would come to that. What just take the stuff you've already done, copy paste it, change a few bits to make it match the new thing, then it will be fine. But they've cut out a lot of the race that she quite liked, and it's like
Yeah.
it's. I'm not a fan of this general edition because it's all a bit bits and pieces.
Hmm.
They've released it, and the release schedule's been all wrong, if you ask me. Because it's
Oh
like
yeah.
if they just got all the books done 2024 at once and released them all at once, that would be fine.
It's this drip feeding kind of ness to it.
Yeah, it's just made everything difficult for no reason. So there's people that are having to play the 5.5 with fifth edition characters because they just didn't port
Yeah,
things over in time.
it's like we're basically playing 5.25 at the moment rather than 5.5 because it's like we're halfway
Yeah,
between.
I think
It's really
I
weird.
think people would be okay with waiting another few months just to get all the stuff at once. I think
Yeah.
we can deal with that. It's because this is just really annoying to deal with. Um, Another unique thing I found that's really odd is they've kind of messed with languages and put on the Discord. So basically, every character can pick 3 languages,
Uh huh.
like the character creation. Uh, but now they split up languages into common languages and rare languages,
Which, on the face of it, isn't
which
a terrible idea.
it makes some interesting problems. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Well, it's
The one, there are some that you actually explained how some of them could happen, but some of them are just truly bizarre. Like,
yeah.
one I find a little contentious, but you could role play your way around it. Let's say you wanting to play an elf.
Uh huh.
There's, by the way, the number of types of elves have also been nerfed as well. So there's like what 3 wood, high, and drow. That's it. The sea elves are gone. Um,
And the Shadow
it's
Khan
yeah,
and all the
fine,
rest of
fine.
it. Yeah.
Oh, they're gone. They're gone. They'll be back, I'm sure. But right now they're just not here. Um, so you could play an elf born in Elfland, copyright all rights reserved, with an elf family,
I'm sorry.
first
I'm now.
generation elf.
Sorry, you said elf one, and now I'm just picturing like elven Disneyland, like made out of like elven metal, like
Oh
filigreed
god, I love that
everything.
idea. Like humans that want to be elves, like people that want to pretend to be from
Oh,
a different
instead of
nation. They're like,
everybody
oh
wearing
god,
like Mickey ears, everyone's wearing
elf
like
ears.
elf ear like headbands. Yeah,
Yes,
it's not even run by elves.
it's like
That's the kicker. It's not even run by elves. It's not even owned by elves.
it's elf face, and
It's
people hate it.
elves. Oh.
Elf, yeah, it's elf face. Um, yeah, so you can have the elfiest elf that ever had pointy ears,
Mhm.
whose parents and everyone they knew speaks Elvish and
Mhm.
writes it. They do everything in Elvish. They're like they've literally been around the language their entire lives. Everyone knows it, but for some reason they don't.
Yeah.
So it's like how you have to justify why did that happen? That seems weird. Also, let's see, Drow, good example. Undercommon is now a rare language.
Yeah, I would probably vote that as
But if I'm to play,
can you not take a rare
yeah,
language
but if
if
I'm
you're
to
of
play a
the race
Drow,
that would know the rare language, or if your background?
yes, they didn't. Yeah, that's what I'd think, but they didn't do that. So you can play a Drow, which you'd think, oh, they know Undercommon, live in the Underdark.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know. The Drow don't know. The Drow now can't. Unless you have a feat, they can't learn
Which is weird,
Undercommon.
because you'd think that a drow living in the Underdark should know Undercommon. I
Yeah,
could understand a drow, like third generation drow, living in, say,
so on the
Baldur's
surface, I
Gate,
get it,
might
but
not know Undercommon, because, you know, your grandparents might have known it, but they might not have really bothered teaching it to your
yeah,
dad, because you didn't fucking need to know it. And your dad certainly didn't teach it to you, so I get that. But, like, if you're in the Underdark and you're a drow, you're
you're
probably
born there,
using
you live there.
Undercommon.
Yeah, yeah.
Heck,
Also,
even
if
if
you
you're a
are
fucking like regular ass dwarf, not even like a dwergar, even if you're a regular ass dwarf living in the Underdark for whatever reason, like you're a refugee or something,
you
you
probably
should
would pick
probably
up
know
Undercommon.
Undercommon.
Yeah, it's because it's the common. It just another one is deep speech as well. If you like, so you can be say, an aberrant mind warlock,
Hmm.
but have no idea how to speak or understand deep speech.
Is Celestial also a rare language? Because that would piss off the
Yes,
Azamars. So, okay, I'm
it
an
is.
Azamar, right? You know, I'm an Azamar cleric. I commune with with Pelor, or whatever the fuck his name is.
I can't
And I
understand a
can't
word
understand
he's
a
saying.
fucking word he's saying.
Yeah, there's loads of people that can. There's like, why are they worshiping God? They literally can't understand. But it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
get what
go
they were
with the
trying to do, but
yeah. The
it's
the
too far
rule
in one
the
direction, I think.
rules as intended make sense. Rules as written
Yeah,
makes no fucking
yeah,
sense. Like
yeah.
I get they were
It's a little weird.
yeah, I get that they were going with like removing the language thing necessarily from racial stuff, because yeah, not every
Yeah.
dwarf in the on the entire planet is going to necessarily know dwarvish by default.
But then
But
again, I think there's nothing wrong with a dwarf just knowing dwarven.
yeah,
It wasn't a problem. It's like, okay,
the amount of times that you're gonna come up with this problem as like a character, as a player trying to role play a particular thing, like I don't know, an immigrant fucking Shadar Khan or whatever, when they reintroduce that, is
most
so
Shadow Kai are,
fucking
to be
like
honest. Yeah.
that is such a niche thing that you would just rule zero with your DM fucking anyway. Oh yeah, they don't know the Shadar Khan language, but they do know this other language,
Actually,
like
it's never really,
Ogrish or
yeah.
something, because they were raised by fucking ogres. That just makes sense.
Yeah, but at that point, that's a character choice. That's
Yeah,
that's that you've come up with, not that the rules have stated is officially, when
yeah.
unofficials, whatever, but officially a hard and fast rule. So it's kind of it's confused how languages work in a really strange way. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah,
Um,
if rare language, honestly, I think rare language should be things like setting specific things that are
so,
like, let's say, the equivalent of the world's ancient Egyptian, the scholarly languages. Nobody except as like a
uh,
scholar is gonna know ancient Dwarvish or ancient Elven specifically, or the language of
yeah,
literally, the Byzantine language. No, not everyone's gonna fucking know
yeah,
that
we don't
shit.
know that. Yeah, well, some of us do, but it's a dead language.
Yeah,
Yeah, it should be ruled. Yeah, I suppose dead language is the better way to look at it. But no, it's just weird because now there's a lot of tieflings running around that don't know the language of their home plane.
yeah.
That's the funny one. It's like, okay, why are they even related?
I
It just
guess
seems
that
weird now.
if any race wasn't gonna know their native language necessarily, it would be a lot of tieflings, because I guess like a lot of them might not even know their infernal dad. I guess, hence the daddy issues. But
But
also, hello,
I,
Celeste Rose 9. Hello.
I get that. But I just think for the sake of mechanics, it made a lot. It was weirdly better when they were just, oh, you're a tiefling. You can understand this. You
Yeah,
just know the language. Because then it makes less weird character issues for everybody else.
yeah.
Because
Anyway,
it's just yes, so that's kind of a problem. I'm not a fan of that. It's just, it I wonder how quickly people are going to pick up on that as well. The spell list is expanded yet again, so that's fine. Um, there is the one thing I do quite like about it though. It's the weapons have been improved quite a bit.
Nice.
Like there are certain classes that you can now get mastery in weapons rather than just proficiency in. That's really cool. So basically, it means that if you are using that weapon and you've got mastery in it, you can use it to do a particular thing. So like let's say we got like the club, for instance, it's you
Hmm.
can slow a target down with it if you have the mastery of it, which
Yeah.
does. Let me have a look. Uh, slow. Yeah, you can reduce its speed by 10 feet if you hit somebody with it because you're just that good with it. So basically, there is a small buff to certain martial classes now, so that is at
Mm.
least quite nice. And every single weapon has that thing that it can do. Uh,
That's cool, actually. I
you can
like
yeah,
giving weapons anything they can
great
do.
axes can now get cleave without getting the feat. If you master it, you can just do that. It's a big thing. You know what to do with it.
Nice.
So that is a change I do like. Although I've sort of that's again something people have done for years without it. Now it's officially in the
Yeah.
book. So that is nice. Yeah. I will say it's made certain weapons much more useful.
Hmm.
Have they fixed the spear though? Just gonna double check something.
The
No,
humble
the spear doesn't have reach
spear.
still. That's very
That is a
funny.
bit. Yeah. It's like why?
That's the most obvious
Huh?
change in the world. That,
Hmm.
but okay. I guess we'll just homebrew that one. No, but so very mixed bag. Uh, I can't see myself switching over to 2024 edition purely because the books aren't all here yet.
Yeah. It's.
It's not even that all the book is bad because there are some things I do actually quite like and will borrow,
Hmm.
but because they released the DM's guide and then a few months later they released the player guide and then the monster manual, which is believed still to come out. It's all two bits and pieces to adopt as a whole system just yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, not terrible books. I'd tell you that another problem with it, which is there's this sort of like this implication that a lot of the race, a lot of the lore that on the species is sort of a bit non-existent. So that's not great.
I mean,
And
we kind of knew that was coming anyway, to be honest.
yeah, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's a reason to get into the game
Hmm.
because there's not. I'd say if you'd never made a D&D character in your life and
Yeah.
you wanted to use this book as inspiration, you'd be kind of
Which is kind of what the player's
adrift
handbook
without a paddle.
is for.
Yeah, you'd be a bit without a paddle there, to be honest.
Yeah.
So that's not a great design choice. Um, there's a lot of like suggestions. Oh, some drow, like the drow. Apparently, the drow could be in the jungle and they don't have dark skin. Is that okay? But are they?
Hmm.
tell me, tell me about the game world a bit, will you? But they just haven't done that. Yeah, and it feels a bit like this. A lot of the races sometimes feel, and the artwork as well. There's sort of reinforces. It's sort of like they're humans with funny skin colors, and I'm not sure I like that. Because
Hmm.
I like the races look different. Uh, so it's a great case in point. I think you've played I think I've run a session of. There's a fifth edition conversion for Talislanta, which I think we've talked about, which is like a post-apocalyptic low magic fantasy setting, which is really cool. That has a load of like playable characters that are just from different tribes, and they're all human, but they feel distinct despite all being human.
Yeah.
The stuff that isn't human is actually looks pretty monstrous and different by design. It's like there's the beastmen, they're literally like borderline wolf/ape people. They look distinctly not human,
Mm.
and the Dragonborn look are like deliberately much larger than the humans. There's like a lot of proper to use the actual diversity in the character design. Like the monstrous looks monstrous, the plant people look and act completely different to humans. The 2024 stuff, it's like they've tried to make everything act like a human, and it kind of takes away some of the fun.
Yeah, like
Like
I can understand that elves and dwarves would be similar to humans in some aspect, but
yeah, they are
dragonborn
adjacent.
and tieflings and such like, especially
Asimar,
those not
great example.
raised specifically in human culture, absolutely should not act or have human culture aspects. You know, I want to
But yeah, imagine
see
being like an Asimar,
Yeah, I want to see
the
like
heavens and
Dragonborn, where like the main proponent of their diet, their culinary stuff, is eating bones because they are capable of doing so, and you know, not
yeah,
necessarily while the
yes,
person's
it's
still alive, but you know, they might have weird quirks that humans just straight up don't do.
yeah. There's a little bit of everyone gets along, and I'm not really sure why they get along. Um,
Yeah,
yes, but then that's an old problem for Wizards of the Coast now. But it's really quite evident in here with some of the art.
yeah. Like I'm
Um,
not asking for like fantasy racism because obviously no, but like that not everybody gets along all the time. You can have there are nuances in cultures which are like, okay, it might be weird to us but normal to them. That aren't necessarily bad things, but things that certain people agree
yeah,
on. For example, you know, dwarves would look at elven metal and be like, well, this isn't reinforced or strong or dense enough. What the fuck are
soft,
you using this for? You absolute
it's soft metal. What
plonkers.
you're bothering with?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there would be
no, I
small,
actually don't
minor
mind. Yeah,
disagreements and think small political
but
things. They'd
I
be like,
don't. I don't mind flat out fantastical racism if it makes sense and it's written well.
yeah.
Because then that's conflict that's easily baked into the game and you can have fun with that.
Mm.
Because it's not actually going to hurt anyone in real life.
Most 99% of the time.
Like, yeah, but that's how people that actually think orcs are black people.
Yeah.
And you can ignore them. I actually like I like the it's an ancient joke, but the whole joke of elves and dwarves having slurs for each other, I still think that's like a good bit of a laugh, to be honest. Because it's been so long, it's become parody, so it's like whatever.
Yeah. It's kind of a meme at this point.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a great meme.
the
It's
old
fun.
classic of I never thought I'd be fighting side by side with an elf. What about
Yeah,
I could do that. What about side by side with a friend? I
yeah,
could do
that
that.
yeah. I've always weirdly it might something with a hot take, but I think like fantastical racism is actually good for a tabletop game
Hmm.
because it's
As long as
easy
it's
to it's
yeah, as long as it's done
as long
tactfully
as
and it's
it
done
stays
right.
fantastical.
Yeah,
As long as it stays fantastical, that it actually improves a game because it means races don't always get on. There's some baked in problems that the setting is already facing. And if you're short of an idea for a character, if you play a character of that species, you might be aware that's just a thing that might help you roleplay a character a bit. So it actually has a lot of benefits, despite some people who are a little more sensitive to that kind of topic.
yeah.
I disagree, but I think they're wrong on that one.
It's also a case of like there's a kind of suspension of disbelief versus realism
Oh
aspect.
yeah,
I'm not talking about like elves and things specifically. I'm talking about the weird kind of races. Yeah, if you're like your universe equivalent of a Simic hybrid running around with your stitched together wings and shit, like I'm playing a
man, yeah.
stitched together downcast in Grim Hollow, you're gonna get some funny looks. Yeah,
Because you're
people
obviously weird looking.
psychologically, people look at weird and go, ugh. Even if they're even good people will sometimes go, ugh. Are you okay? Your face looks like it's burnt. No, I'm just a fire ganassi. That's normal. Oh, right. I'm
Some
sorry
fire
for you.
constantly. That's
Yeah.
normal. Yes, it's like a Goliath walking into a gnome bar. You're gonna get attention.
Yeah.
You're huge. They're like 2 feet tall. Um,
And sometimes that means you'll get idolized, and sometimes that means you'll get borderline reviled. And That's psychology for you, you know? People judge on appearances. Breaking onion news. People judge based on the way
You
that you
gotta do.
look. Is it right?
Yeah,
No, not always, but is it,
sometimes no.
you know, yeah,
Yeah.
having a sentient species without judging on first appearances based on physical looks and pre-established understanding of what a race or culture is like a day without sunshine. It's just you're not going to avoid it much as you might want to try.
Yes. Yeah, so it's honestly, having having got a version of it, don't bother with the 2024 player handbook.
Yeah.
At least if you are keen on it, you're allowed to just wait until the whole monster manual and the rest is released with it.
Yeah.
Don't get them in. Don't bits and piece it. Just wait till it's all done, as otherwise you're going to get fleeced for so much money, and you're gonna. It's just not going to be worth it. I think.
Yeah. I'm surprised that I'm. Well, I guess that I'm not out yet, but I wouldn't. I would be surprised if when the other two books actually come out that they don't do a bundle thing, a 3-book bundle
Yeah, that's
thing.
what I was thinking. Yeah, just the bundle it will cost an arm and a leg, but you will at least get the full set.
Yeah,
So
and it
as long
might
as they
save you like
look
I don't
into
know
that.
4 or 5 quid or something buying them all in one bundle.
Yeah, it's because people still use the rules from 10 years ago anyway, because there's so many gaps because of the drip style releasing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think definitely a misfire on Wizard of the Coast part there.
yeah. Anyway,
What do you got this week?
speaking of magic, D&D related things, we're with issue 16 now, and there's something. So that the
Oh
theme of
yes,
this one is
yeah,
working
something good
together.
relates to it.
Yeah. So we've got working together. It's talking about group checks. A little basic bit on group checks. A bit of DM advice on managing monsters, which is pretty cool. So this is the third part of managing monsters. So that they do like throughout various episodes they go to certain themes, which is pretty cool. They even have a section on what to do when you're missing players or when there's new players. See that this
Oh,
is shit that's useful. Stuff like this, useful stuff. Talking about like what to do in X situation. You could decide if a player isn't there and the character isn't there. Maybe they stay in town to gather information, or ask the missing player what their character might go off and do on their own. Seems to make sense. If it's recon, they could make a single intelligence check. When then play next, determine the success or failure of their task. Blah blah blah. Works in ensemble TV shows when a character in the episode work there. You could say they won't, have them fade to the background. Yep. So it's stuff that like you and I as veterans would already sort of know, but for like newer
yeah,
DMs,
newbies will need.
this shit's helpful. This sort of thing should be in the fucking handbooks.
Yeah, to be fair, that would have definitely improved the thing I just read. Yeah.
Include the other players by encouraging everyone to discuss links between their characters to do with backstory and stuff. Perhaps the new character is an old friend or foe from a character's past, even better than the new character is someone's old ally, but also a rival to another character. We need to set aside their old grudge to work together. Yes, if someone new is showing up, show each other, like, I mean, you should show each other your backstory stuff anyway and see if you could wheedle things together in, because that's cool. But yes, include them in the thing. Don't just be like, oh, this is a complete rando that we found in a cave. You can do that, but I think it's a lot more fun if you would have got like a pre-established link. And then there's a bit on taverns and inns. Oh, there's even like a little bit about the yawning portal, which is a cool little tidbit. I won't go into the detail of it
Okay.
because I think we know what it talks about cost of ale, wine, loaves of bread, hunks of cheese. Is this in the manual? I don't think this is in the manual, like normally the average cost of drinks. So I swear I looked this up once. And I was like, what should it cost on average? But it's cool that's actually in there. Like, yeah, a hunk of cheese is probably like 1 silver piece because it's a big bit of cheese.
Oh,
Meat will cost like 3 silver a piece, obviously. A banquet per person's 10 gold on average, that kind of thing. That's helpful. I know they've got like the rates for lodging per day in inns based on your blah 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 blah. What we looked at last time, the levels of living kind
Oh
of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I think that's in the manual, but it's still cool that it's there as a tooltip. Then contested checks, how to do that. Factions, how to write and run a faction, which is pretty nice. And it talks
And
about
that's
some of the
good world
factions
building.
of talks about the 5 factions of Faerun, so the Emerald Enclave, the Harpers. If you've seen the movie, you know what the Harpers are. The Lord's Alliance, the Order of the Gauntlet, and the Zentarim. There's a little bit here about Ganassi as well, which is cool. We were just talking about them. My favourite D&D race of all time, because I like elemental shit.
That's fair.
And then the adventure is the Sea of Swords, not to confuse with the game Sea of Stars.
Oh.
So there's some seafaring stuff. Balance for second level characters. Interesting. We've got games of chance. Oh, there's actually like a whole like set of rules for a game of chance idea. There's the bandit. So Rust Bag of Tricks, which I think might be. Is that like? Oh no, I think that's like a different. So I think this might be unique. Because I know there's a bag of tricks, but I don't know if this is a specific version of a bag of tricks which is unique. I'll have to take a look. Unless it's just the colour of it. Anyway, bag of tricks thing. There's a whole section here in this adventure on beached Leviathan slang. Beached Leviathan being like the crew of this particular ship. So we've got things like drink the coin means to become a member of the crew. Flash packet is their term for a weakling. Scrimshaw is writings at edgings. That's cool. That's just interesting little bits. See, again, stuff like this should be in more like actual D&D adventures. Little tidbits that make the factions more interesting. There's the stat block for the bard, I think is part of NPCs and stuff. There's a guard stat block, but the coolest part here is another named character one called Captain Harag, who I assume is the captain of the ship, which is pretty cool.
Makes sense.
And yeah, it's got like studded leather, saving throw stuff, his languages, his CR2, multi-attack stuff, scimitar, dagger, and parrying. He actually has a fucking reaction to parry, which is kind of cool. Again, a pretty basic stat block here, but still nice to get some unique stuff, and I will probably use a lot of this later on. But yeah, it's issue 16. So that's interesting. Again, I won't spoil a whole lot, but it actually looks kind of cool. That I might actually wind up running that adventure at some point. Right.
That just sounds useful stuff. It's the kind of stuff I could have used when I started DMing. To be fair,
Yeah.
but I mean, fix there. Um, cool. What next?
I mean, consult the Book of Armaments. Where the bloody stupid bookmarks? Right. Ah, yes, our critical fumble for the week, of course, of course, of course. How could we have a day without a critical fumble?
Okay, a critical fumble. Was there several? I'm seeing quite a bit of YouTube news, and there's always drama.
Yeah.
One thing I have seen that's been so there is let's see, I think it's a Ubisoft game, and they're debating. So, Sue, but before it's how much would you? What's the upward amount you'd want to pay for a current day like AAA game?
I'd say, like, at most, like, 45 quid, I think is reasonable now. I get that
Right,
inflation's a
okay,
thing.
right.
Used to be
No, that's
around
fair.
30, like, back in the
Um,
day.
yeah, PS2, most was 30. Yeah, so Ubisoft, I believe they have a game coming out called Avowed, which looks it's like a fancy game. It looks okay. A little. Let me have a look actually. But the retail price they're going for is $90.
Sorry, what?
Which
It's not-
yes, that they're debating uh actually having the price for it be $90.
It's like 73 quid, 74 quid.
Yes,
That's ridiculous.
yeah. And the game looks a little. Let's have a look. Looks like a fantasy. Looks like a fancy game. A little bit Skyrim esque.
Hmm.
Let's have a look. premium skins they're talking about is already putting in the sellable stuff. That's great.
Yeah.
Is that really the dialogue for this? Oh my god! Let me need to watch this again. Um, okay. So they're doing a character reveal for some of these characters. There's some sort of cat person, like Yatsli, apparently.
Hmm.
And keep in mind, this is a YouTube short. This is the Xbox showcase. So the first I've seen of this character at all. First two words out of her mouth are Andra's titties, you found it.
Huh?
So that sets the tone, I think. Um,
Like, okay, yeah, I get that, like, some, British idioms and stuff, sometimes we say, Gordon Bennett or hag's tits, etc., but still,
yeah,
when your very first in-game lines are that, it's like,
there's like I think I think some people actually are not this is a common comment. This is something I do sometimes hear. When you're looking at a fantasy game or a fantasy story of any kind, and the language is really modern or relatively modern, like go in expecting a bit of like Tolkien style English or medieval style English or late medieval, like really know old and Renaissance stuff. But then it's like people using modern slang, and it kind of
yeah,
you can take you out of the experience. I don't mind the excessive swearing because I used to. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I've seen like old reruns of Sharp, and that's a lot of fun because Sharp's this constantly annoyed character who's got these rubbish high-ranking officers. He keeps swearing at them. But that's what's funny. But that fits the setting rather than like fantasy cat wizard just using modern day slang.
yeah. It's like
Yeah,
I
there's
can forgive it when like players in a D&D setting might use modern day slang. We just sort of
yeah,
like hand wave it as they use the time period equivalent in character. But
because
like
they're currently
when
people.
yeah, when you're
That's
like
fine.
hired to be a writer on a triple A game, it's kind of part of your job to fucking research what those equivalents are and use as equivalents instead for the sake of immersion. If you're going with like
Yes.
if you're trying to have that period like a feel or feel to a setting, if it's clearly medieval sounding or looking, it should have medieval lookingness to it. Or don't use modern day slang at all. Even so, use like
Yes.
invent some fantasy slang, you know. It's like the Tinker Gnomes might say something like, "Oh, gears and starters rather than stars and garters, etc., you know. Make up
Yeah.
thematic stuff for the setting. Anyway,
The thing, a good example of that. It's an older game now, but you played any of the Thief games?
I played the bad one.
Have you? Oh right, yeah. Now the ones before, I'm not sure if the new one did it, but they made their own like fake swear words.
Nice.
Like you'd hear guards like calling someone like a taffer, which you could easily insert common swear word there that you think it fit
Yeah.
because it yeah. I always quite liked they just made it their own swear word, just for that setting only.
I mean, by and large, the historical greats, if you really want to go down that route, have already done the hard work for us. If you're a writer writing a tabletop thing in a medieval thing, just look up insults from Shakespeare's plays. I'm sure that it's out of copyright at this point. You
Well,
could,
there's some great insults. I got a small
yeah,
book of that,
just
the
call
pocket
someone a
size.
sickness green carrion or something. I'm pretty sure that Shakespeare is not going to sue you for that.
It's say that there is like odious as a toad and twice as ugly as something like that.
Yeah, and
Yes, loads of great insults in Shakespeare.
the famous your mother was a hamster and your father smelled of elderberries. There you go.
Yeah, a bit of Python. Yeah. Um, yeah.
So
So
yeah,
what's gone wrong with for you?
so This isn't political. It is a little bit, but it's not really. In light of what's going on tomorrow. So, today's critical fumble is the United States government, and I guess by extension the
Oh, they're
American
vindictive, aren't
people.
they?
Yeah. So you've heard the TikTok ban, which lasted all of like 5 minutes. So they decided, yeah, we'll ban TikTok, or we'll have some things laid out
Right.
where TikTok is effectively banned because TikTok isn't just gonna like put itself into American ownership and therefore will not qualify for our new like rulings. Meanwhile, the American public goes, okay, TikTok's banned. Okay, we'll use VPNs for a start, obviously. Getting around that end,
Right.
or we'll just download this other app called Rednote. It's like, oh yeah, so we banned this thing to prevent people from being affected and having the data stolen and spied
Yeah.
on by the Chinese government. Meanwhile, the American
Mm-hmm.
public goes, okay, we will download this app that is directly run by the Chinese government.
CCP. Yeah. Yes.
I don't know. I
That
don't
is
know who's
it.
stupider. I genuinely don't know who's stupider, Americans or their government. Who's
See, I'm in two minds about this one because my reason I actually do agree with the banning of TikTok, but for different reasons. To think a lot of people will have. Um, I blame it on like the TikTok challenges.
yeah.
Because like I mean there were some dumb pranks when I was in my 20s and my teens. Loads of dumb some of those could have got you killed. Remember the cinnamon challenge? If you ever
Oh,
did
the
that one?
fucking cinnamon challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, that could theoretically kill you. Um, but the challenges on TikTok are actually way worse because they're actually
Tide
crimes
Pod
half the time.
challenge. Yeah.
They're actually crimes half the time. The stuff people
Oh
put
yeah,
on TikTok.
walking into random people's houses. Like that's a great idea. It's a great way to get
That's
shot if
actually
you live in the States.
like yeah, exactly. So on that basis, I am glad TikTok did get banned because um, I don't agree with the CCP. You know, obviously they're very anti-freedom, and most of what they put out is a front to hide how poorly their everything is running financially about now.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't believe that anything run by the CCP would allow that kind of rule breaking.
Yeah.
So no, it's a weird side effect. A lot of the worst behavior of TikTok will just not be allowed on Rednote.
Yeah. Which is like, thank
So
fuck for that.
that's again, I don't know the CCP for the obvious reason, for very obvious reasons, the history. I actually did make a joke about it on some YouTube comments saying like, if you're on Rednote, um, I could actually recommend you to just start putting out content about Tiananmen Square and the Great Leap Forward, and just see what happens. It'd be a fun little experiment. I don't think they'll be on that platform very long if they do, but I want them to do it and find out. Um, yeah, I do agree with the ban though, but it is very daft for people to think, oh, there's this alternative that's more blatant about data theft. I'm sure they won't lie to me on this one as well. They will. They always do.
Yeah. The
Um,
other like
and
stupid thing with
yeah,
it is I heard
yeah,
that like both Biden and Trump are like, okay, like this ban exists, but we're gonna like sign an executive order to make it like basic, something that is like decriminalized immediately. So it's illegal but decriminalized, like some
yes,
other things. But it's like actually like neither of you are actually allowed to do that. Like you have to uphold the laws of your
right,
country. It's weird. Like both the
right.
leaving president and the incoming president are like fucking idiots. Basically, like wow, way to like show your country that you're both completely ignorant to the laws of your own nation.
Yeah, I think the problem is a lot of people with political influence are very tech illiterate a
Yeah.
lot of the time. That makes the laws really weird to pass. Another thing, problem I did see looming with Red Note is a lot of people that you do see in compilations saying, "Oh, I love Red Note. It's great. I never used it before." A lot of them are white Americans, um, and in China they quite like white Americans,
Hmm.
quite big fans. Um, However, culturally speaking, from what I've read, they're not huge fans of black people or non-white
Oh.
people at all. So I think what might happen come down later in the year when it's Black History Month.
Hmm.
I don't think Red Note's going to be pulling out a red carpet for that one.
Yeah.
And they don't have the best record for gay rights either. So July might be a nice, horrible surprise for them if they went to Red Note expecting
Views,
like a
all their
nice,
videos might
tolerant
get taken
place to
around.
have their
Yeah.
views. Yeah, so I think they're going to run into that later. So I am kind of waiting with bated breath to see how that goes down.
Mm.
But that's like half a year away thing.
So coming to a critical fumble near you in like 3 months' time, TikTok will probably be back in the news again. No, not
People coming
TikTok.
back
Red
to
Note. Yeah,
TikTok.
yeah, yeah.
You
Red.
know, do you know what? That has happened. What was the other one? Blue Sky.
Hmm.
People said, "Oh, we're leaving Twitter, going to Blue Sky." Some people went to Blue Sky. A lot of them are artists, and they were like, "Oh, it's all right here. I can um, put up my art, and it's fine. It's quite nice." And then everybody else who made Twitter really annoying followed them onto Blue Sky. Said, "Oh, I hate it here already. I'm going back to Twitter." Um,
It's not so. It's. I don't think that problem's quite as bad as it seems to some people. Like I've been on Blue Sky for a hot minute, and I haven't seen. I've not seen nearly as much discourse as on Twitter. But then I guess because the Blue Sky algorithm
so,
pushes different things. It's more of a creative pushed algorithm rather than a
yes,
discourse
yeah.
pushed algorithm, I guess. But in any case, yeah, it's like some people are just like, oh, like you really thought that, you consider it like, oh, I got off Twitter to get away from the trolls. You didn't think they would, just follow you,
Just follow you.
like.
Yeah, I mean, like my Twitter feed's actually quite nice because I really curate what ends up on there.
Hmm,
I avoid a lot of rubbish on that. I just follow the people that do nothing but what I like.
makes sense. It's
So I don't see a lot of the. I hear about it. I hear about a lot of the silly stuff, but I rarely see it. I like
mm.
it that way.
Yeah, it's just
It's like,
social media, man. Like, it's both like one of the
it's not
greatest things to ever happen to our society and
the
also the
worst thing ever to
worst.
exist. Yet, ironically, not great for communication.
Yeah. This is
I
like
don't want to be,
people like Plato would write stuff about the duality of social media if they existed today.
I've always wanted to see if I'd love to take like the great Greek philosophers and just give them Twitter. I just want to see what happens.
Man. Just give Diogenes Twitter. Everyone else would leave within like 2 days.
Yeah, exactly. Be great fun to watch. Dear. What you got next?
How about our homebrew of the week?
The timing. Okay. I've been expanding my undersea stuff because I wrapped up. I will drop it somewhere. Well, I did a uh, Oblivion inspired dungeon for nostalgia's sake. Try to
Nice.
keep it as true to how that game plays enemies and stuff. Just a short one, but I thought I wanted to do it.
I heard the Chaden Hall
Um,
Fighters Guild is taking on new warriors. I doubt
it
it.
could ironically be a quest that the Chain Hall Fighters Guild gives you. It was very generic, but I wanted it to feel like a low level dungeon in
Hmm.
Oblivion. So generic was how what was aiming for. I know, but this is another little punishment so I haven't got a full roster of playable races for this yet. I'm going to have to sub some in like Lakatha because basically I have two rules for people playing this when it
Uh-huh.
does get to a finished state. Maybe three rules. You must have a swim speed that's
Makes
like
sense.
30 feet or better. You must have it. You must be able to breathe underwater perpetually all the time. Because otherwise, you're going to have a miserable go.
Yeah.
And the third
That
one
kind
is
of
you have to
unfortunately
be.
wipes out the grung. I was thinking about this. Like, it's a shame that like
Yeah.
grung are only like semi-aquatic. It's like, yeah, their whole.
Here's
Oh
the
no,
thing that.
no, they can breathe air and water. Never mind me. I was assuming because
Yeah.
like certain frogs, like, oh, we can't actually breathe water. Sad crying noises.
But if there's I would allow exceptions for like I know artificers get access to a certain item that lets you breathe underwater. I would allow that because you
Yeah.
can technically do it.
Or if there was
But
something
the third rule
like
is
shark folk, where it's like, okay, I can't breathe water, but like sharks, I can hold my breath for a very, very, very long time to the point where it basically doesn't matter because I'm also an ocean
yeah,
creature anyway. I'm just a bit weird like that.
yeah. But I think it'd have to be like right. It's got to be at least 8 hours
Yeah, yeah,
realistically because you're under the sea. When are you going to be above water?
yeah.
Uh, that's not because I'm being restrictive. It's because I'm just thinking of how it will play. I don't know it's going to be undersea all the time.
Hmm.
So, a lot of races are just not going to make the cut. The ones that haven't, though, I have uh, reimagined the merfolk
Oh.
because I sort of treated them as a bit like the not quite elves of the setting, I guess.
Hmm.
They effectively are. Um, I got a couple of subspecies as well. So there's reef and abyssal merfolk.
Nice.
Basically, like shallow water, deep water was the to make them distinct and interesting looking.
Hmm.
So reef folk, honestly, they're like your more classical mermaids, shell bikinis, fishtails, you name it. Yeah,
Hmm.
the classic mermaid look. That's them. Um, their culture is actually really quite nice. It's very run. It's actually run on a democracy kind of system. Very quite civilized. Lots of coral. Very very pretty and artistic looking.
Hmm.
So their artists are kind of great. They're really good at working with coral. Um, they're sort of like if they were to live in a city, they'd live in like the old like the nicer old town. Um, not to say they're rich, it's just that's how they style themselves. The abyssal merfolk are literally they live in like the deep sea reefs, so everything is generally less colourful.
Hmm.
Apart from like the weird stuff they use to actually light their cities, because they have a load of bioluminescent plants that they
Ooh.
use. They live really weirdly because they live in like where it's pretty much pitch black. They're good at seeing in the dark, but they kind of swapped out that for tremor sense a lot of the time
Hmm.
because underwater that was so much more useful. When you think about it,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So basically, abyssal merfolk get better. Um, basically, they get better tremor sense. Um, they are, but it doesn't look. They also look very different. So they're pretty much like pale, very pale white, almost a sickly green skin,
Hmm.
like one tinge away from being actually green. Because they don't really get much light down there. So why would they be particularly dark skinned? They also tend to be bald as standard,
Hmm.
pointy ears, weirdly sharp teeth. Just
Yeah.
just sort of how they are. They look they look very alien to human eyes. Ironically, the two groups get on really really well um, because because they can one provides what the other doesn't
Hmm.
effectively. So it works out for them quite well. Like the abyssal merfolk are really good at making like but underwater combat at least they're good at making heavier armor because they
Hmm.
need it more because life gets really strange down there. Um, so they tend to be better at. They tend to be a little more warlike the abyss a lot because they put up with it a lot more, and they have to deal with like water pressure, so their armor is generally sturdier. Not quite as pretty, but it works, and they're also really really good at taming like local wildlife. That's kind of their thing. A lot of their magic is druidic based, so they tend to tame animals to sort of help them out. Like one of their favorites is like anglerfish, like the smaller ones.
Hmm.
They kind of raise them like pets
Aw.
because
Anglerfish.
yeah, because
Are anglerfish like little anglerfish? Are they like the pugs of the deep sea?
I imagine they're more like Staffordshire, like bulldogs
Ah.
or Staffordshire terriers. Um,
Little blobfish just
but
scooting around.
yeah, but the logic was right. They live in a place that's perpetually dark.
Hmm.
They need light. Anglerfish constantly produce it, so they tame them to follow them around like loyal like dogs, and they light up the place quite well.
Mm.
It does seem like and the anglerfish get fed, so honestly, it's quite a happy little thing. Also, just for fun points, there's eels and other things they tame, sort of like beasts of burden, beasts of war, which is just for cool points. And they're really good at that. So sometimes there'll be an agreement to they'll need the abyssal colony might need coral or something they don't necessarily have access to, and in return they might send up one of their priests or priestesses to teach some of the reef folk to actually how to tame animals through druidic magic, because that's not something they're naturally good at. So despite that they look radically different, they really get on like well, because the Colins thing we talked about them last week, they're sort of like the undersea version of hobgoblins,
Hey.
and they're very very warlike.
Yeah.
They tend to like to expand and conquer, so they have good reason to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So they have an alliance that's going on that's actually beneficial for both groups. And the war goes quite like centuries back. So the Colins, the Merfolk, do not typically get on, apart from the occasionally mercenaries. Some Colins like decide to be mercenaries, and some of them are from families that fought for the Merfolk, so they get a pass. But generally, it's not a good relationship at all. But mechanically, the main difference is, well, they both breed underwater, obviously. Abyssal Merfolk get a spell which I'm going to call Soothing Wave. It's concentration up to 1 minute. It targets one beast with a swim speed has to pass a Wisdom save, and it's a simple like level 1 spell. It just convinces the target that the caster means it no harm.
Oh.
So it's not like OP, but it's just to show just how good they are at taming animals. Every abyssal mer person is quite good at just calming animals innately, at least temporarily. Well, the only thing is, once the spell ends, the target does know who cast the spell, and that it was in fact charmed. So there is a bit of a trade-off. The other big difference is movement speed's ever so slight difference. Languages common and Aquan, effectively, so that's effectively going to be common a lot of the time in this particular setting. Movement speed, so they have 25 feet of speed on land, 35 of swim speed. So they're the better swimmers compared to the reef ones, because they just deal with bigger water pressure. 80 feet tremor sense, sort of like giving the drow treatment, and because the way exhaustion works underwater, basically it's at a certain depth you can get exhaustion quicker. They can ignore one level of water depth based exhaustion.
Nice.
That just made sense where they live. Reef folk get mending as standard because they're just good with the coral reefs. They're good at making sure they're in decent shape. They're all about a little bit hippie-ish, but that was sort of the very metropolitan way I wanted to redesign them. So they're all about keeping things looking nice and neat. So mending's kind of their thing. They're artisans, so every merfolk has proficiency in one additional set of tools of their choice.
Makes sense.
They get Aquan Common, one of the languages, and 40 feet of tremor sense. So they're going to play, ideally, sort of like the elves of this setting. Because they're human adjacent, aside from the fishtails, but they're very human looking compared to a lot of the other ones. But I think because you can't, then every other race is going to be some sort of bit of a weirdo race, but that's half the fun, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually I'm looking forward to it. I remember seeing you wanted me to give some suggestions. What have you got this week?
So, the title for this one, it's also a water-based thing, funnily enough. It's a lot more on the silly side, though. So this is this is Lord Pinchy, the Grabby Hands Kaiju.
Pinchy. Oh, I
Yeah.
love the name.
He's a gargantuan beast, obviously, because he's a kaiju, so he would be massive. Chaotic neutral, because he's a kaiju, and there's not. I don't think there's really ever been an evil kaiju. They've all just been like, I'm going to destroy the city, or like, walk around because I feel like it. Very chaotic neutral of them. 30. So, yeah.
There's always King Ghidorah, one of the
Yeah.
evil
So,
classic kaiju
yeah.
monsters.
So here's a funny thing. They are CR20,
Right.
but they only have 200 hit points.
Right.
So I can
But
hear everybody asking, what's the catch? Well, the catch is, if you've ever seen a crab, you know that a crab is covered in an exoskeleton. So this guy has a CR of has AC of 30 because he's a crab, a gigantic fucking crab with armor plating thicker than house walls. So, yes, he has low health, but unless you've got good shit, you're not actually hitting him properly most of the time. It has 40 foot of movement and a 40-foot climb speed. Because I guess that, like, gargantuan creatures, even though they have, like, looks on paper low movement speed, I guess, like, if a massive thing is moving 40 feet, their whole body is moving 40 feet, right? So they're going, like... It looks a bit more impressive when they actually do the movement. Anyway, they have 25 strength, 18 dex, 31 constitution, because crab, they are literally the apex of blingin', like, evolution. For some reason, everything evolves to crab. 14 intelligence, 20 wisdom, 14 charisma. So two of their mental stats are not so great. They have proficiency in strength, constitution, and wisdom saving throws. They have athletics proficiency, because kaiju moment, basically. They're immune to slashing, piercing, and bludgeoning damage from weapons that are not magical and adamantine. And any damage from a water-type source. So, for example, spells like Tsunami, Wall of Water, just don't damage it in the slightest, even if they fail the save, because they're a giant enemy crab. But I figure, like, if you're running a setting where this guy is your big bad evil guy, if you haven't given your players a magical adamantine weapon as, like, the MacGuffin of the setting, what are you doing? It's the idea of, yes, make sure that make sure the shit you give them is magical and adamantine. Basically, that part of, like, their immunity shouldn't matter if you're using him correctly. Anyway, 60 feet of blind sight, they're a crab. 120 feet of dark vision, passive perception of 20, because they're a crab. They have legend resistance 5 times a day. I gave them extra legend resistance because crab. They have something called just a crab. So Lord Pinchy understands common, but does not speak. Instead, he communicates via body language, which is Merfolk Vizier. Use the Archmain stat block for this, except with Triton racial traits. Seems to understand. So it's like he has like a Vizier handler who's like, oh yes, of course, Lord Pinchy. His Vizier will remain a neutral party. So his Vizier knows that his master is a bit weird and will remain a neutral party in any conflict, even if he's attacked. If he attacked, he will instead make attempts to non-violently prevent harm, so things like command and things like that to stop people from hurting him, or like fleeing or teleporting as a last resort. He is just there to interpret. If Lord Pinchy wants to destroy a city, that's on him. He is having no part in this. So his next bit of rules text is compressed super gigantic life form. I kind of took the idea like the miniature gigantic space hamsters thing. So Lord Pinchy chooses to reduce his size to that of a normal spider crab. So he's specifically a Japanese spider crab. The reason I came up with this is I saw a YouTube video called "Theme That Plays When You Encounter a Japanese Spider Crab." That's what started all this. So yeah, normally he just looks like a normal Japanese spider crab, size small. He rapidly grows when attacked or enraged, dealing 20d10 plus 10 bludgeoning damage to any objects that would otherwise impede his growth. So if he's inside a building and he decides to get angry and grow, the building's fucked. Basically, is the idea. His growth is treated as a siege engine, basically. His crown, however, does not grow. His crown just remains the same size. It's tiny crown
Okay.
with giant crab. He has
What's
grappler.
what's 8.5 minutes long?
What?
I was looking at that video of the spider crab theme. Why is it 8.5 minutes long?
I don't know. It's weirdly good though. He has grappler +1, so he has the regular grapple stuff, basically. However, he isn't restrained unless the creature is also gargantuan. He isn't restrained when he's restraining someone, because obviously. I know it sounds like an obvious thing. It's like, I know that grappler, like, oh, if you restrain something with grappler, you also become restrained, but it doesn't make sense if you're restraining something that's really small. Like, yeah, you just, grab it in your hand, basically, and restrain them, right? So unless they're gargantuan, he doesn't get restrained by restraining stuff with grappler. If he's grappling a creature of size large or smaller, he may lift them into the air using half his movement, or throw them. Because, yeah, if you've got, like, a creature in your hand, you should be able to punt them. It's the same ruling as you should be able to punt a gnome.
The football sized.
Yeah. This is technically a rules thing, but more of a roleplay thing. If he is not referred to by his title of Lord, as in constantly, Lord Pinchy will get very angry. In order to avoid his wrath, the offending creature must make a DC 16 persuasion check to calm his ire. So he's very uppity about that, because of course. He has spider climb. Yeah, Lord Pinchy can stick to walls and ceilings, despite not actually being remotely related to spiders.
Okay.
He may make 4. He has multi-tack 4, 2 with each pincer. If he's holding something in that claw, he must choose that target. It's kind of hard to attack somebody else with a claw while you're holding someone in your claw. He may choose to throw an object or creature that it's holding as one of his attacks. For an object aimed at a creature, use the yeet action stats. For a creature, use the yeeted action stats. Note that if said creature is large and thrown at another creature, use both. So, potentially, if he's throwing, say, I don't know, a centaur, because I think centaur's a medium for some reason. So let's say he's throwing a bugbear at somebody. So he rolls an attack roll for both the creature he's throwing and the creature he's throwing it at. Because, yeah, he throws a motherfucker at a motherfucker, basically. Anyway, the stat, I won't go into the exact stat stuff there. It's damaging. His attacks don't actually do a lot of damage for his CR level. Again, this will be a long and drawn out battle is the idea, so giving him high damage on top of that would just not be fair. He may take 2 legendary actions each round, obviously choosing the option below. Only 1 legendary action option be chosen at a time and then each creature's turn, blah blah blah. He can spend energy points at the start of each turn. He may detect something, make a wisdom check. He may dash, or he may attack. Specifically only claw attack, so he can't he can't throw anything with his legendary action. And now we get to...
snip.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Now we get to the funny bit of all of this.
Yes.
So, when Lord Pinchy is reduced to 100 or lower hit points for the first time each day, he immediately makes a super legendary action. Or rather, one occurs. I'm saying this with heavy quotation marks. As it says, he seems to not have any actual control over doing this. It just happens. I went with kaiju movie tropes of the whole thing of eventually at some point during a big kaiju battle, something completely fucking inexplicable is going to happen, basically. Anyway, roll on the super legendary action table below, and there are 20 possible results. So, first of all, we have Not the Bees. 68 plus 5 swarm of wasps, bees in this case, fly in and enter combat initiative count 20, and they are hostile to both Lord Pinchy and any of the creatures currently in the fight. Kind of like how, like, you know, the planes in, like, King Kong just attacked Kong and probably Godzilla if he showed up as well. It's like, yeah, fuck
Is there a
everyone.
strange man in a There's a strange man in a truck that drives in to release them.
He just releases the bees. I'm going to release the. Originally, I was gonna call it. That particular name of that event as I'm going to release the bees. On a roll of a 2, burning ring of fire occurs. A ring of fire surrounds Lord
No.
Pinchy as if by a 9th level wall of fire, except the wall is a ringed wall, specifically 100 feet in diameter, 20 feet high, and 1 foot thick. Because I know that wall of fire is generally actually quite a small range, generally. But I like the idea of just having, again, more for thematic purpose than anything, just a massive just ring of fire. Like, again, seeing
If they're
kaiju movies like
underwater?
the city's on fire. Well, this might not necessarily occur in every instance, because it's like, it might not necessarily occur underwater. I mean, he's a massive kaiju, like, part of him might be above water. But yeah, I might put, like, this doesn't work below water, but so, like, if you're underwater, it would appear above the water like an oil spill fire.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 3 is the one you suggested. Why is the ocean upside down? Everything within a 100-foot radius of Lord Pinchy, himself included, is subjected to reversed gravity for 1d4 plus 1 rounds.
Does someone go into great detail about what happens to your bladder when that happens as well?
Piss yourself, yeah.
No reason, just okay, thanks for that.
Number 4 is slightly more mundane. Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm brews the start of each creature's turn. It must make a DC 10 dex save. On a failed save, they take 3d4 lightning damage. This is intense lightning.
Okay.
Number 5 is what a horrible night to have a curse. A random opposing creature gets cursed, as if by the bestow curse spell. Someone just ran. This might not necessarily be the party. This could be an NPC in the fight or whatever. As long as they're like, yeah, as long as they're not Lord Pinchy.
Could it be his attendant?
No, opposing. So specifically, like what he would consider an enemy. Yeah. Number 6 is fish rain. It rains fish.
Right.
Initiative 20, roll a percentile for each creature in the current biome. On a roll of 26% or lower, they get hit by a fish. Must make a DC 18 dex save. A failed save, they take 1 to 10 bludgeoning. If the roll was 1%, the fish is instead a swordfish, which will deal 3d8 piercing if it hits. I just like the idea of, like, just somebody getting absolutely fucking reamed by a random swordfish falling from the sky.
Okay. Right.
Number 7 is unexpected lunar event in backing area.
Go on.
If it is night, it becomes a blood moon. All attacks deal an additional 1d10 damage of their damage type, and all successful attacks cause what I call enrage. Hit creature must make a DC 15 wisdom save, and a failed save, they must attack the source of the damage until either the save is past 1d6 rounds have elapsed. The idea that blood moons just make everyone more aggressive, basically. If it is day, a solar eclipse occurs. It becomes incredibly dark. So, fuck your dark vision levels of dark. All fire and radiant damage are halved because they rely on, you know, the sun or whatever. You know, Palor gets less powerful because the sun is covered by the fucking moon. But necrotic damage is doubled. So, again, it might fuck over some parties and help others kind of thing. Also, just a random solar eclipse is like, yeah... This is a long one, by the way. Military interference is number 8. 5 squads of 9 guards, led each by a veteran, march into the battle area, or on boats if this is in the ocean. See, I remembered that this might take place in the ocean for this specific one. Each uses what would be a standard issue firearm appropriate to the setting, or crossbow if firearms are not the standard. They will fire on Lord Pinchy, but their attacks have a 25% percentile roll chance of catching another creature in the firing line in the crossfire instead. Again, like the whole kaiju movie thing of, like, sometimes the military will just show up, and because they care about killing the monster by any means necessary and you're in front of them, they might wind up hitting you by mistake, but it will be explicitly by mistake.
Okay.
I forgot to put number 9 in, bollocks. I'll add that in later. That'll be a surprise mystery one for later. Number
You know what could go in there that I just forgot about and just remembered until today?
uh
Rotate everything in the battle map by 90 degrees.
Yes! Oh, what was it? What was the spell name called?
I
Dark
don't know.
Symmetry! I'm going to put that in Dark Symmetry. The benign will be Dark Symmetry. The entire battle map gets rotated. There. One part of the battle map gets rotated 90 degrees. Battle. 90 degrees. Perfect. For like no reason.
It doesn't affect. It's just weird.
Number 10 is Tsunami. A tsunami occurs, its middle point centered on Lord Pinchy. So wherever the middle bit is, as in horizontally, center it on him, basically. Again, he'd take no damage because it's water, as previously mentioned, but he's a giant water kaiju. He's probably going to wind up causing a tsunami at some point. So that's the most realistic one of everything. Number 11 is that awkward moment when someone uses the wrong GM's guide.
Oh.
The local area becomes grayscale like a 1950 sci-fi movie. Lord Pinchy gains the Eldritch property. Creatures perceiving him must make a DC 15 Wisdom save. On a failed save, they gain 1 Madness point. Pro tip, use this anyway, even if you're not normally using the optional Madness mechanic. A creature who has 5 or more Madness points this way can no longer determine friend or object from foe until the next dawn, unless another effect lowers their Madness points below 5. Basically, the joke is, oops, this became a Call of Cthulhu game.
Okay.
Number 12 is Sudden Terrestrialization. Terrestrialization. Yeah. Lord Pinchy and 3 other random creatures. Yes, it could be the party. Yes, it could be his attendant. Yes, it could be that random fish that is just underneath his leg for some reason. Gain the construct type until the next dawn, and turn into living crystal statues themselves and gain a random magical element. Out of all the elements it could be, basically. So, I'm not going to make a separate table for that because it's already a long stat block, but just roll for it. All attacks those creatures hit with now deal an additional 2d6 damage off that element. This is a reference to that new Pokemon mechanic that just changes something's type and makes them crystal.
Oh, yeah, okay. I remember one.
Number 13 is Corruption/Crimson.
Right.
It says choose Corruption or Crimson. Corruption. The area directly under become Lord Pinchy, as in his entire base, becomes corrupted. Corruption doubles the necrotic damage creatures standing on it take, and each 5 by 5 foot tile spreads 1 tile each round. By the way, this can have lasting effects on the world, because this doesn't go away. Additionally, if using, Corruption spawns Corruption tag creatures, or appropriate creatures such as aberrations, undead, and worms from hell. Or Crimson, the area directly under him becomes corrupted. Crimson, not corrupted. Should be Crimson. Crimson makes every successful attack apply 1 level of bleeding. A bleeding creature loses 1d4 hit points for each level of bleeding at the start of each of its turns until healed. That's a mechanic I've come up with by myself. I'm sure that various versions of it exist. Each 5 by 5 foot tile spreads 1 tile each round, like Crimson. Additionally, if using, Crimson spawns Crimson tag creatures appropriate for the setting, such as aberrations and flesh golems. Crimson is like fleshy stuff. Basically, this is basically a Terraria reference. So, corrupting or crimsonifying the world. So you either get weird undead shit or gribbly flesh monsters. Mostly because I want to have a reference about worms from hell in there. Because the Eater of Worlds is a fucking asshole. Anyway. What is this? Heir to the Throne 3 is number 14. This is perhaps one of the weird ones. Yes, it gets weirder. Note the point where the center of Lord Pinchy's base is. As in, note it. Put a fucking marker there. All successful attacks now knock creatures back a number of feet equal to the damage divided by 5 times X Remember bitmass, people. If X is 0, X is 1, instead of dealing damage. That creature also gains 1 times 1x for every 5-foot knockback this way. So they gain. That's how X accumulates. Maths, people. If a creature is back 50 feet or more from the origin point horizontally, they gain 1d4x every time they start their turn in that zone. And here's the important bit. If a creature moves, including Lord Pinchy, more than 100 feet away in any direction, they immediately die.
Right.
The joke is Smash Brothers. The joke is it just becomes Smash Brothers.
I thought the joke was you just do a load of maths to annoy people.
I mean, that is part of the joke because I have funny maths. But I was like, how do I do the Smash Brothers mechanic when in that you don't take damage, you take percentage? So I'm like, I got it. I'll just then make maths happen. Number 15 is I am the egg crab. It's what I am. Lord Pinchy becomes a machine construct until the next dawn.
Hey.
Before every attack he makes, he says an often repeated quippy remark, which gives him -2 to his hit rolls and his save DC because he's telegraphing his attacks. Personally, I like to use "get a load of this." Add 1,000 gold coins to his inventory. This will be important later.
Oh.
Apply the following regional effect until the next dawn. All creatures that currently have no gold on them gain 10 gold. Yes, including peasants.
Right.
Yes, that will fuck the economy up if he's currently in a city. Yes, I don't care. If a creature takes damage, they lose that much gold. If a creature is reduced to 0 gold this way, they immediately die.
Okay.
The joke here is Sonic. Oh no, I'm out of rings, I die.
But didn't it like summon a truck that rolls down a hill at you or something?
Yeah. Number 16 is Questing Crab.
Right.
Lord Pinchy gains the Questing Beast text. Reminder text. If he attacks, he also takes the dodge action. Any damage he deals to a creature with 20 or less max hit points is lethal. He may make a single non-multi-attack attack or move as a bonus action. Damage he deals cannot be prevented by an effect or immunity, and whenever he deals damage to a summoned creature, he deals damage to that summon's controller. The joke is the entirety of the text of Questing Beast from Magic the Gathering, which is a famous Magic the Gathering meme because that guy has like a paragraph of effect text.
This is like pot of crab on here as well. It'd be quite funny.
Oh no, I should have put that on there. Maybe I might expand this and make it like a D100 instead eventually. Or D30.
Keep adding bits.
Maybe I should make it a D30 so anyone who has to run this actually has to have a D30. Just to add to the stupid.
Oh.
Number 17 is the Fabled Sword of MacGuffin.
Oh.
A random artifact rarity weapon materializes in the middle of the battlefield. All creatures of size medium or smaller must make a DC 20 wisdom save. On a failed save, they are charmed by the weapon, and on their turn, they must move forward and attempt to take the weapon, until they succeed on the save on a later turn. If the weapon is in someone else's hands, they must make an attack on them. It can be ranged or a spell if they wish. Once they have the weapon, they must use it to attack Lord Pinchy, while avoiding having others take it from them by any means necessary. The whole joke of like, oh no, it's the legendary sword that must be used kind of thing. Just,
oh, okay.
But everybody wants to be the one to use it. Like, no, I'm the legendary hero. No, I'm the legendary hero.
Okay.
Number 18 is Mecha Pinchy. This is separate to Egg Crab. So a second Lord Pinchy just materializes, except they are covered. They are a robot version, basically covered in like metal and whatnot, and are treated as a construct. They will only fight Lord Pinchy, but will likely hurt other creatures in the crossfire. They stick around for 1d10+1 turns, before mysteriously or conveniently vanishing. The Mecha Godzilla joke, basically.
Okay.
Number 19 is perhaps the funniest and most useless one on here. The most do-nothing of all of these. So, 19 is dramatic pause. Time stop is cast with no creature targeted. So everybody is time stopped. Creatures that can perceive, creatures can perceive that time has stopped, but can't do anything about it because they couldn't stop
How long
time.
does it last?
It lasts for as long as time stop is supposed to last. I think you basically do it as I think like time stop lasts for like a few turns or something, or might last like a. I think no time stop lasts 10 rounds as per the spell. So here's the odd part. Roundabout by Yes seems to play from everywhere all at once. Roundabout continues to be heard until the song finishes, even after time has resumed. The joke is it's a JoJo reference, basically.
Yeah, I got that. Does he get a little golden wig? The headband.
Oh, I should do that. And then number 20 is kind of.
You should actually try and like draw that just like a crab trying to pull the Dio pose off. Too many legs.
Amazing. Number 20 is perhaps the most dangerous one, but the one that makes kind of the most sense. Meteor Shower. Meteor Swarm is cast, though this is not treated as a spell or magic ability, so it can't be countered. Because it's literally just an actual meteor shower rather than a spell. But but you do it as if the spell is being cast, basically. Drop. Right. So at 4 random targets, if you're using a battle map, drop 4 objects onto the battle map. Dexterity moment. So this could be the party and an enemy, Lord Pinch himself, nothing, a creature not involved in the battle, or even a nearby building. Meteor shower, because A, kaiju moment, and B, insert Final Fantasy XIV reference here.
Right.
But that is all of them so far, and that is the entirety of Lord Pinch's whole thing. Most of this is just the stupid super legendary action table, which I might wind up using on other things, and I might expand later on. But yeah, I will. That's Lord Pinchy. He is very weird.
He is a crab with. It's just you're playing Chaos Edition at that point.
Yeah. But I think the funniest thing is, from a DMing perspective, is you might never wind up actually fighting him. He might just appear, nothing bad happens, and everyone's nice to him, and then nothing goes wrong. But the idea that things could go horribly wrong at any moment.
That reminds me of there's a game called Space Funeral that I played. I think it was RPG Maker,
Uh-huh.
and it's just a deliberately weird RPG Maker game. It's so imagine like your most bog standard type of RPG Maker game.
Mm-hmm.
Props Heroes has to go out and kill someone bad kind of thing. But the art style's really deranged and weird, and all the dialogue doesn't make any sense. Like it's in proper English, but it doesn't make sense. Like the first companion is a creature called Leg Horse. This horse made entirely out of legs. It just constantly verbally berates you. It's just really weird. But one of the combat mechanics is it's just something called mystery. You can just pick it, and out of a set of I think it's like 20 random responses, depending on the enemy, something will happen. So it can be something as silly as Philip sings a really old song, and then it will say like Skull Crab A likes it, Skull Crab B thinks he was a bit pretentious. It does nothing, no damage. It's just that's the thing that just happens. Or it can be like one enemy randomly has a heart attack and dies. It's not even a long game. I think you can play it in a few hours. It's just a really weird RPG.
Zombie 3 can smell toast. Zombie 3 had a stroke.
Then one was I think another really good one was you make a face from a Stanley Kubrick movie and people get frightened.
Oh, the Kubrick stare, yeah.
Yeah. But it's called That One Face from That Kubrick Movie. No reference.
Amazing.
It's a great. Honestly, it's a great game. I'd like to. Oh, that's the Kubrick stare.
Yeah, it's a very famous thing in cinema.
Okay.
It's I think
Well,
like
now
other
I
people
know.
beyond Stanley Kubrick have referenced it.
Yeah, fair enough. No, that's Space Funerals. I actually recommend you play it. It might be. It is really weird and up your alley. But I think Vinny played it at one point, and the
Oh,
sequel, which actually took the combat seriously. The first one, it's a complete joke.
it's
It's the easiest
completely.
combat you've ever played,
Hmm.
but it's all about the stupid dialogue.
Yeah. So if you're ever doing a weird, slightly jokey campaign in an underwater area, you now have some more homebrew stuff if you join the Discord, and you too could put what was it, Coral Elves and Lord Pinchy into your campaigns for absolutely no reason. Yeah.
I done like a D1000 encounter. Just tears here.
Lord Pinchy arrives. He's like carried on a cushion. A little crab.
It's like a random encounter in like Earthbound. Lord Pinchy arrives.
Just there.
It does now think it does have a really Earthbound feel of enemy that makes no sense appears without warning.
Yeah. It's like, okay, it's this crab now. Okay. It's a bit weird.
Why does it know magic? Help.
How does it know magic? Lord Pinchy pulled a funny face. Your controls were inverted. What? Anyway, I think that
Yeah.
might be all we have time for this week
Yeah,
because our
we've done
homebrew's a bit
well.
long-winded this week. Sorry about that. Next week we will be back, I think, unless we have any pre-arranged weirdness. I think I'm free next week with more
So
homebrew
far,
stuff
I am,
and
yeah.
more funny silliness.
Yeah, that's right. So until next week, have a good one, and see you next time.
See you next time. We are gonna raid out, and who are we raiding? Wading. I mean, we are in water this week, so wading is correct.
Yep.
Who are we raiding this week? Is that? Is that? Oh, what's his name? I guess, you know what, we could raid King Moo. Why not? We'll raid King Moo. Man who suspiciously looks like... Oh, what's his name? He played... Oh, no, he doesn't quite look like him. I was thinking the guy who was in... Is it Death Stranding? What's his name?
Norman Reedus?
Is it Norman Reedus? Was he the Life Finds a Way guy? I'm trying to remember his bloody name.
Lifetime. Oh, Richard Attenborough.
No, for the Jurassic Park Life Finds a Way.
John Hammond. Yeah.
I think so. Anyway, see you
that's
guys next week. Because, yeah, bye.
Bye.
Right, thank you for joining me this week.
Right, that was all right. Gonna double check if we're busy, if we're actually meeting the folks this week.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I'm free for it, unless someone's ill or something. I don't know. Well.